This video is about Europe's currents of war and peace through the centuries. Subscribe for more. In the heart of Berlin, a city still bearing the scars of its tumultuous past, an unassuming history museum buzzed quietly as the sun cast long shadows across the exhibits. Among the displays of artifacts from the Second World War, an old, weathered folder lay tucked away in a glass case. It housed a collection of documents that had long been labeled as classified. But for Dr. Anna Weiss, a brilliant historian with a fierce passion for uncovering hidden truths, it represented the key to a much larger mystery. Anna stared at the folder, her heart racing. She knew that within its pages lay secrets that could alter the perception of European war history. The folder had gone unnoticed through the years, but her recent research suggested it contained correspondence between high-ranking officials from the EU and Germany during the war, detailing covert operations that might have influenced the course of history. As she carefully examined the case, a voice snapped her from her reverie. "Weiss, you're going to get us kicked out of here," said her colleague, Max Richter, a young archivist with an eagerness tempered by a cautious demeanor. "Max, you have to trust me," Anna replied, her eyes gleaming with determination. "If these documents are what I think they are, they could rewrite everything we know about the alliances and betrayals that shaped Europe." Max sighed. He was well aware of Anna's ambition, yet the implications of her discoveries seemed dangerously precarious. He glanced around the museum, noting the presence of visitors, some unknowingly walking over the very ground where history had been forged and shattered. "I just don't want us to get caught." Ignoring his concerns, Anna's fingers brushed against the glass. She felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The tragedies of the past were not mere stories, they bore the lives of million soldiers, civilians, families torn apart. Anna envisioned what those documents could reveal about the United States, Germany, and their roles in the shifting tides of war. "Meet me tonight at the cafe by the Spree," she whispered urgently. As the day faded into twilight, Anna and Max crossed the bustling streets of Berlin, filled with the remnants of a city that had seen the rise and fall of empires. They reached the cafe, a quaint corner spot where the aroma of roasted coffee mingled with the chatter of patrons. Anna quickly scanned the room before settling into a secluded booth, her heart still racing with anticipation. "Have you thought about what this means?" Max asked, leaning closer. Anna took a deep breath, pushing aside the uncertainty that crept into her mind. "This isn't just about us. It is about understanding how the past influences the present. They had a massive role in shaping post-war Europe, and if these documents reveal hidden agendas, it could change everything. What about the role of Israel in the narrative? The information was intertwined with the devastation of Europe. The true, but you're stepping into dangerous waters. What if this leads to international consequences?" Max replied, a tinge of worry in his voice. "Knowledge is power," Anna countered. In that moment, the cafe door swung open, a gust of cold air swelling in as a tall figure stepped inside. Dressed in a dark trench coat, the newcomer exuded an air of authority that caught Anna's attention. He scanned the room before making his way toward their booth, his eyes locking onto Anna. "Weiss," he said, his voice slow and firm. "You've been asking questions that could lead you to places you might not want to go." Anna's instinct screamed caution. This was not just a chance encounter, this man was connected to the world she was probing. "Who are you?" she demanded, her heart pounding. "Let us just say I am someone who knows the implications of digging too deeply," he replied. You want to stir the waters of history without understanding the currents." Max shifted uncomfortably in his seat, glancing between Anna and the stranger. "What do you want?" "It'll help you," the man said, producing a small, leather-bound notebook. "There is a reason those documents are classified, and there are people, powerful people, who will do anything to keep them that way." Each word hung like a heavy anchor, pulling Anna deeper into a murky intrigue. She asked, her voice edged with curiosity. The man leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "The correspondence in that folder details operations that went beyond the battlefield. They reveal a collaboration between the EU and German factions that could change the understanding of post-war agreements. They even hint at the formation of alliances that would later lay the groundwork for Israel's emergence." The formation of Israel was indeed a pivotal moment in history, one deeply rooted in the aftermath of European devastation. "How do you know this?" she pressed. "I have my sources, but I cannot disclose everything," he said, glancing around as if he feared the ears were listening. "What I can tell you is that there are factions in play old grudges and new agendas. The content of that folder holds the potential to ignite conflicts that could reshape nations." Max interjected, "And what is stopping you from taking it yourself?" The man looked at Max, a slight smile creeping onto his lips. Because the truth needs to be unveiled in the right way and with the right people. There is a reason I am here speaking to you. You've got the drive, but you need to understand the risks involved. Anna's mind raced, torn between the weight of the truth and the dangers it posed. So, what is the next step? But first, you need to gather more information about the folder without raising suspicion. Time is of the essence, he replied, standing up. He turned and walked away, leaving Anna and Max reeling from the encounter. What just happened? Max muttered, disbelief etched across his face. That was our opening, Anna said, determination igniting within her. If we can expose these secrets, we can shine a light on the shadows of history, but we need to move fast. As night fell, the streets of Berlin flickered with lights that mirrored the uncertainty of the past. Anna's thoughts raced through centuries of conflict, from the ruins of World War II to the rebirth of nations and the unyielding cycle of war and peace. The currents of history were turbulent, but she felt a sense of purpose surging through her veins. In the distance, a siren wailed, echoing the restless nature of their endeavor. Anna and Max rose from their seats, ready to delve deeper into the depths of history to unearth the stories hidden beneath the surface. The weight of their discovery loomed heavy, pushing them toward a confrontation with the tangled legacies of the past. Let us get to work, Anna said, steeling herself for the challenges ahead. Tomorrow, we infiltrate the archives and uncover the truth. With that, the two of them stepped out into the night, unaware that their quest for knowledge would not only test their resolve, but also lead them into a labyrinth of intrigue with consequences that reached far beyond their understanding. The currents of war and peace were about to collide once more, and the battle for truth had only just begun. As they ventured into the darkened streets of Berlin, Anna's heart thudded in her chest, fueled by the gravity of their mission. Little did they know, the shadows of history were watching, and their pursuit would awaken forces long kept at bay. The mystery of the folder was just the beginning, a mere whisper of the storm that awaited them. Currents of war had begun to stir. What awaited Anna and Max in their relentless pursuit of truth would reshape not just their lives, but the very fabric of history. Would they uncover the hidden connections, or would they find themselves swept away in the tide? The answers lay ahead, shrouded in the fog of the past and the promise of the unknown. The following morning, the early sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the streets of Berlin with an ethereal glow. Anna and Max, now fueled by the urgency of their mission, navigated through the city with a singular focus. They approached the State Archives, a massive stone building that had safeguarded the weight of Germany's history. Each step echoed the pulse of their determination. Remember, Anna said, her voice barely above a whisper as they approached the entrance. Act like we belong here. And Max nodded, adjusting his glasses nervously. I just hope we can get close enough to gather the information we need without raising any alarms. Inside, the archives were a labyrinth of documents, shelves burdened with the weight of time. Scholars and researchers moved about, engrossed in their quests for historical truth. Anna and Max split up, each taking different paths to minimize suspicion, but keeping their eyes peeled for any sign of the folder's location. As Anna explored, she felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. The air hummed with the stories of the past, each piece of paper a testament to the struggles, alliances, and betrayals that shaped Europe. She stopped at a display of military correspondence from World War II, the very fabric of the secrets she was pursuing. Flipping through the pages, Anna's thoughts raced to the potential implications of the folder. If indeed it contained details about German collaborations, it could offer insights into the clandestine operations that influenced post-war geopolitics. Could it reveal connections to the struggle for the establishment of Israel, which had emerged in the aftermath of the Holocaust? The intertwining destinies of nations were often obscured by layers of history, and she yearned to peel them back. Meanwhile, Max, stationed near a set of restricted records, scanned the area for any signs of security. His heart raced as he noted the stern expressions of the archivists, who seemed to be acutely aware of every visitor's movements. He spotted a glance exchanged between two staff members, their eyes narrowing as they observed him. Stay calm, stay focused, he muttered to himself, forcing down the chill of anxiety creeping up his spine. He approached a desk, pretending to peruse a book while keeping an ear open for voices that might mention the classified documents Anna had seen. As minutes turned into hours, Anna finally spotted a sign bearing the words "Classified Archives Authorized Personnel Only." Her heart raced as she recognized that the folder she sought was likely housed within those walls. She quickly approached Max, who was still feigning interest in the literature sprawled before him. "Max, I found where the folder is. It is in a restricted section," Anna whispered, urgency lacing her words. Max's eyes widened. "Then follow my lead," Anna replied, her mind already racing through potential excuses. They needed a plan, and fast. The clock was ticking, and their window of opportunity was narrowing. Anna spotted an archivist who had just stepped out for a quick break. "Perfect," she murmured, her instincts kicking in. "We'll follow him." As the archivist turned the corner, Anna and Max moved stealthily in his wake. They slipped behind a heavy door marked "Authorized Access Only," their hearts pounding with the thrill of danger. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with dust and history, the air heavy with secrets waiting to be uncovered. They navigated through aisles filled with leather-bound documents and wind shelves. Anna's breath quickened at the sight of files labeled with dates from the war years. Each step echoed their resolve, but the stakes were higher than ever. "Anna, over here," Max whispered, beckoning her to an open room at the end of the corridor. Inside, they found rows of metallic filing cabinets, the kind that housed long-forgotten secrets. Anna's fingers shook with anticipation as she scanned the labels. "Let us check these," she said, pulling open the first drawer. As they rummaged through the papers, the potential for discovery grew tangible. They were about to uncover something monumental. Suddenly, the door creaked open behind them. Max froze, his eyes wide with fear as they both turned to see a uniformed guard stepping inside. "What are you doing in here?" The guard barked, his authoritative voice echoing off the walls. Without hesitation, Anna grabbed Max's arm and darted toward the nearest exit. They stumbled into the hallway, their hearts racing as they rounded the corner, hoping to evade capture. Anna urging Max forward through a series of winding corridors. Footsteps echoed behind them, growing louder as the guard pursued. They pushed through another door, feeling the weight of history pressing against them as they ducked into a small storage room, the door barely closing behind them. In the dim light, they caught their breath, their hearts pounding in sync. "What now?" Max gasped, panic creeping into his voice. Anna peered through the narrow window, watching as the guards searched the hallway. "This isn't the end, we can give up now." As they contemplated their next move, a sudden thought struck Anna. What about the documents on the shelves? "We could take some with us, enough to prove the connections I suspect exist between the EU and German officials during the war." "That's risky," Max said, glancing nervously at the door. "But it might be our only shot." "Okay, let us do it," Anna said with determination. "We'll take what we can, and then we'll slip out through the back." With haste, they rifled through the papers, grabbing anything that seemed relevant, meticulously folding and tucking them into their bags. Each document felt like a thread in the tapestry of history, weaving their understanding of the past into a narrative that could reshape the present. Just as they finished, the sound of footsteps grew closer. "We have to go now," Anna whispered urgently. They slipped out of the storage room, weaving through the shadows as they retraced their steps, hearts pounding in their chests. Emerging into the light, they sprinted down the staircase, taking care to avoid anyone who might question their presence. Each step felt like a countdown, or race against time, but adrenaline surged through them. As they reached the main exit, they spotted the open door leading to the bustling street outside. Freedom lay just beyond, but fate had other plans. The guard, having realized their ruse, shouted from behind them. "A run," Anna shouted, propelling herself through the door, Max hot on her heels. They burst into the sunlight, the noise of the city enveloping them as they hurried down the street. Max panted, glancing over his shoulder. "We need to get somewhere safe and look over what we've caught," Anna said, urgency pushing her forward. They ducked into a nearby alley, catching their breath and scanning the chaotic street for any signs of pursuit. As they opened their bags, the weight of the documents revealed itself, each paper a potential key to unlocking historical truths. Anna spread them out, her eyes scanning the pages filled with typed letters and handwritten notes. The implications of their findings began to unfold before them, revealing a complex web of clandestine meetings and unspoken agreements. "Anna, look at this," Max exclaimed, pointing to a letter dated just after the war. "This mentions a covert operation involving both American and German officials, discussing strategies for post-war Europe. That is exactly what we need." Anna's eyes widened as she absorbed the words. "It is more than just military. It hints at the formation of alliances that would eventually lead to the establishment of Israel." As they continued to sift through the documents, excitement bubbled within them. They were on the precipice of a discovery that could alter perceptions of history itself. However, the thrill was tempered by the understanding of the forces they had begun to awaken. "Anna, we can't let anyone know we have these," Max said, glancing nervously around the alley. What if those powerful people come looking for us? Anna nodded, the urgency of their situation pressing down on her. We need to find a secure place to analyze this further. If we can prove the connections, we'll be able to expose the truth. The world deserves to know. Their conversation simmered with the weight of impending gravity, the knowledge that their pursuit of truth could ignite a larger conflict. As they emerged from the alley, blending back into the bustling cityscape, they knew they had crossed the line. The currents of war were stirring once more, and the tide was beginning to shift. The documents they held could either illuminate history or plunge them deeper into darkness. With each step, they felt the heartbeat of a history that would not stay buried, a pulse that called them ever closer to a reckoning. "Let us head back to the cafe," Anna said, her voice steadying in the face of uncertainty. As they moved through the thrumming streets of Berlin, they were unaware that other eyes were watching, eyes that belonged to hidden forces committed to preserving the status quo, ready to intervene should their secret be threatened. Only time would tell if Anna and Max could navigate the treacherous waters of history they had unleashed. Would they be able to uncover the truth and reshape the narrative of war and peace, or would they find themselves swept away in the current, lost in the shadows of the past? As Anna and Max navigated the bustling streets of Berlin, the weight of their findings felt both exhilarating and burdensome. The cafe loomed ahead, a familiar refuge amidst a sea of uncertainty. They pushed the door open, stepping inside to the warm embrace of the dimly lit space, but their momentary relief was overshadowed by the urgency of their mission. "Find us a secluded corner," Anna whispered, scanning the room for any suspicious figures. "We need to lay everything out and analyze what we have." Max nodded, leading her to a secluded booth tucked in the back. They slid into the plush seats and quickly spread the documents across the table. Anna's fingers trembled with anticipation as she unfurled the first letter, her eyes darting over the typed words. This one mentions a secret meeting in Paris between American diplomats and German officials just months after the war. The implications are staggering. Max leaned in closer, scanning the page over her shoulder. "What do they discuss? The plans for coordinating economic recovery," Anna replied, her brow furrowing in concentration. "They read laying the groundwork for a new order in Europe, one where Germany is reintegrated, but only if they cooperate with you interests. This could explain why the Marshall Plan favored certain nations over others. The timing is too precise to be a coincidence." In Max's essay, expression shifted from excitement to concern. "But what does this have to do with Israel? There are references to a Mediterranean strategy," she continued, flipping through other documents. "These meetings also highlight the geopolitical importance of a stable Middle East, wanted to ensure that once the war was over, the region did not fall into chaos. This could tie into the push for a Jewish homeland." Max sat back, his mind racing. So, they weren't just focused on Europe, they were looking ahead to the future of the Middle East even then. "Exactly," Anna said, her voice firm with conviction. The United States was not just rebuilding Europe, they were orchestrating the rise of new powers in the Middle East, with Israel as a strategic ally. "Oh, but if these documents are as explosive as they seem, we're putting ourselves in serious danger. If those powerful people don't want this information to get out there." Anna interrupted, her eyes fierce with determination. "We need to find a way to corroborate this information without putting ourselves in the crosshairs." As they strategized their next move, a sudden chill swept through the cafe. The door creaked open, and a group of men entered, their presence commanding attention. Dressed in tailored suits, they carried an air of authority that sent an uneasy shiver down Anna's spine. "Do you see those men?" Anna whispered, her voice barely audible. "They seem out of place here." Max turned to look, and his eyes widened. Anna's heart raced as the men settled at a nearby table, their conversation low but intense. She could feel the weight of their gaze occasionally shifting toward her and Max, a sense of foreboding settling over her. "We need to leave," she said urgently, her instincts kicking in. They quickly gathered the documents, stuffing them into their bags as they rose from the booth. Anna's mind raced with possibilities. Who were these men, and what did they want? "Out the back," she urged, leading Max through a narrow hallway toward the rear exit. They pushed through the door and stepped into the alley behind the cafe, where the clamor of the city felt distant. "What should we do now?" Max asked, his voice tinged with panic. Anna glanced around, her mind racing. "We need to find a place to lay low and analyze what we've found without being followed. There is too much at stake." As they emerged onto a quieter street, Anna's thoughts turned to their next destination. The university library has a research room where we can work in relative privacy. If those men are indeed watching us, we need to be strategic. Let us move, Max said, following Anna as they hurried toward the university, weaving through the throngs of pedestrians. The campus bustled with students, but Anna felt a sense of urgency that drowned out the lively chatter around them. They slipped inside the library, breathing a sigh of relief as the scent of old books enveloped them. This way, Anna instructed, leading him to a small study room tucked away in the back. Once inside, they closed the door behind them and set their bags on the table. Anna pulled out the documents, her fingers trembling with anticipation. If the EU and Germany were collaborating on post-war strategies, we need to figure out how that ties into the establishment of Israel. And Max nodded, flipping through the papers. Let us start with this meeting in Paris. It is dated June 1946, just a year after the war ended. What is the context? Anna bit her lip, rifling through her mental notes. By then, tensions were rising in Europe and the EU was looking for ways to stabilize the region. We know that the Holocaust had left millions of displaced Jews seeking refuge. What if this meeting was about creating a haven? As they delved deeper into the documents, Anna's eyes widened at a particular passage. It discusses strategic support for Jewish resettlement in Palestine. They were already planning for a future where Israel would become a key ally against the backdrop of Cold War tensions. Max leaned closer, his brow furrowing. But if this was the plan, then it could explain the EU government's subsequent push for recognition of Israel. They were creating a foothold in the region even before the state was established. Anna's heart raced. If we can prove the connection between these documents and the political maneuvers that led to Israel's formation, it could shake the foundations of historical narratives. Suddenly, a loud knock at the door jolted both of them, sending a jolt of panic through Anna. Stay quiet, she hissed, her heart pounding against her chest. The door creaked open, and a librarian stepped in, eyeing them curiously. Is everything all right in here? Yes, just studying, Max replied, forcing a smile. The librarian nodded, but didn't leave. Instead, she lingered a moment longer, her gaze seemingly searching for something. Anna's breath hitched as she felt the weight of the librarian's scrutiny. We can't afford to be found. We need to finish quickly, she whispered to Max. Finally, the librarian left, shutting the door behind her. We need to hurry, Anna insisted. Let us finish our analysis and then get out of here. They resumed their work, but tension hung heavy in the air. Each rustle of paper felt amplified, each moment stretched thin with the weight of uncertainty. As they pieced together the puzzle, Anna's excitement mingled with fear. If we can get this information out, it could expose not just historical truths, but also the underlying motives that shape modern geopolitics. Max nodded, his face pale. But what if those men from the CAF are linked to this? They could be here to silence us. Just as Anna was about to respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket, startling them both. She fished it out, her heart racing as she noticed an unknown number flashing on the screen. Is it them? Max whispered, his voice tense. I don't know, Anna replied, her thumb hesitating over the screen. Should I answer? Against her better judgment, she swayed to answer. Hello, Weiss. The voice on the other end was smooth, yet laced with an undercurrent of threat. I suggest you tread carefully. Who is this? Anna demanded, her pulse quickening. Someone who knows what you're after. You've dug too deep. I recommend you stop while you can. Before she could respond, the line went dead. She exchanged a horrified glance with Max, the gravity of the warning settling over them like a dark cloud. They were onto us, he said, his voice shaking. We can't back down now, Anna urged, her resolve hardening. If we don't, the truth will stay buried. As they gathered their things, Anna felt the currents of war and peace swirling around them, threatening to pull them under. The challenge ahead was steep, but the stakes had never been higher. With their findings still fresh in her mind and the threat of exposure looming, Anna was determined to see their mission through. And as they stepped out of the library into the bustling streets of Berlin once more, she knew that they were now players in a game far larger than themselves. Let us head to the safe house, I know, she suggested urgently. But with renewed purpose, they moved through the city, unaware that their quest for truth had set off a chain of events that would echo through history. The currents of war were shifting, and they were about to be swept into the heart. As Anna and Max stepped out of the library into the bustling streets of Berlin, the weight of their mission pressed heavily upon them. The air was thick with tension, each passerby a potential threat or ally. They moved swiftly, blending into the crowds, their hearts racing with adrenaline and fear. Where is the safe house? Max asked, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting the men from the cafe to appear at any moment. It is an old friend displaced quiet, away from prying eyes, Anna replied, leading the way. She had met Klaus during her undergraduate years, a fellow historian with a passion for uncovering truths buried beneath historical narratives. He had promised her a refuge in times of trouble. They rounded a corner, ducking into a narrow side street wherein an unassuming building stood. Anna knocked on the door rhythmically, and after a moment, Klaus opened it, his expression shifting from surprise to concern. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, ushering them inside. Once the door closed, the cacophony of the city faded away, leaving only the muffled sounds of life beyond their refuge. "Klaus, we need to talk. It is urgent," Anna said, her voice low but firm. He led them into a cozy study lined with bookshelves, the smell of aged paper and leather filling the air. "What is going on?" Klaus asked, his brow furrowing. "We've uncovered something monumental," Anna said, pulling out the documents and spreading them across Klaus's desk. These letters detail covert operations and alliances between the EU and German officials right after the war that connects to the establishment of Israel and the geopolitical strategies of the time. Klaus leaned forward, his eyes scanning the pages. This could change everything, but it is dangerous. If what you are saying is true, there are people who will do anything to keep this under wraps. Max nodded. "We received a threatening call. They know we have this information." Klaus's face paled, and he locked eyes with Anna. "Then we need to act quickly. If we can verify and publish this information, it could shift the entire narrative surrounding post-war Europe and the origins of Israel." Anna's heart raced at Klaus's words. "We need to find a way to corroborate this. We can't just release it into the wild without further evidence." "Agreed," Klaus said, his mind turning. "I have contacts in the historical research community, people who can help us verify the authenticity of these documents. But we all need to be cautious. Word travels fast." "Let us do it," Anna said, determination flooding her veins. "If we are going to expose the truth, we need to be strategic about our next steps." Over the next few hours, they worked feverishly, combing through the documents, cross-referencing dates, names, and events. Klaus reached out to trusted colleagues, discreetly sharing snippets of their findings, while Anna and Max meticulously built the case for the connections they had uncovered. They discovered mentions of key figures in both American and German politics, weaving a narrative that could reshape the historical context of the post-war era. As night fell, the atmosphere in the room grew tense. "We were running out of time," Max said, glancing nervously at the clock. "We need to get this out before anyone else realizes what we have. Tomorrow, I'll meet with one of my contacts," Klaus said, pacing. "If we can convince him of the validity of our findings, he could help us publish an article without drawing too much attention." Anna nodded, but her knees gnawed at her. "What about the men from the cafe? What if they find out what we were doing? We all need to keep a low profile." "No more extravagant meetings or public discussions," Klaus replied, his expression serious. "We can let them know we were onto something." The next day dawned bleak and overcast, matching the tension that had settled over them. Anna and Max stayed close to Klaus, their conversations subdued as they made their way to the cafe where Klaus was to meet his contact. Each corner they turned felt like a potential ambush, the shadows of past conflicts lingering in the air. Arriving at the cafe, they found a secluded table in the back, the ambience warm but charged with anxiety. Klaus scanned the room, his demeanor alert. "He should be here any minute," he said, checking his watch. As if on cue, a tall, bespectacled man entered, a briefcase in hand. Klaus stood to greet him, introducing Anna and Max before they settled into the discussion. "This is Dr. Weiss and Max Richter," Klaus began. The man raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "What kind of documents?" Anna took a deep breath, ready to unveil the information. "We believe they detail covert meetings between American and German officials, discussing geopolitical strategies and the support for Jewish resettlement in Palestine. The implications could be immense." The man leaned in closer, his expression shifting from curiosity to seriousness. "If what you were saying is true, this could reshape historical narratives, but how can you be sure of their authenticity?" Klaus slid the documents across the table. "We've cross-referenced them with known events and historical timelines. I have contacts who can further verify their legitimacy, but we must act quickly." As he spoke, Anne felt a growing sense of urgency. The stakes were higher than she had anticipated. Just then, the door swung open, and the group of men from the cafe entered, their presence a looming shadow over the conversation. Anna's heart raced as she recognized them, her instincts screaming danger. "They were here," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Klaus's eyes widened and he quickly closed the briefcase. "We need to go now." He stood, guiding Anna and Max toward the back exit. They slipped out into the alley, adrenaline coursing through their veins as they rushed down the narrow path. Max gasped, his breath quickening. "Just keep moving," Anna urged. "We need to find a safe place to regroup." They ducked into a nearby building, an old warehouse that had long been abandoned. As they caught their breath, panic settled over them. Max asked, his voice trembling. "We can let them catch us," Klaus said, pacing. "We need a plan. If they're after those documents, we can let them get their hands on them. They must know we were meeting," Anna said. "The truth is too important." Klaus nodded, determination flickering in his eyes. "We can set a trap. If we can leak information about our findings to the press, it'll create a buzz. They won't dare act against us if they believe others are aware of what we have." Anna felt a surge of hope. That could work. If we spread the word, it might protect us while we gather more evidence. Together, they devised a plan, using Klaus as contacts to leak snippets of their findings without revealing the full scope of their documents. As they worked, a sense of purpose ignited within them. They were not just historians. They were soldiers on the front lines of a battle for truth. The following days were a frantic blur as they maneuvered through the shadows, feeding information to trusted journalists while keeping a low profile. The buzz surrounding their revelations began to grow, and with it, their resolve strengthened. Anna could feel the currents of history shifting, the tide turning as they fought against the forces determined to keep the past buried. Finally, the day came when an article appeared in a major publication highlighting the connections between the EU, Germany, and the formation of Israel. The world was awakened, and Anna felt a rush of satisfaction mixed with fear. They had lit a spark that could ignite a firestorm. But as they celebrated their small victory, the phone rang. It was Klaus, his voice urgent. "They're coming for us. We need to go, now." Anna's heart sank, but she felt prepared. "We've come too far to back down now." We all faced them together. As they made their way to a nearby safe house that Klaus had arranged, Anna felt the weight of history pressing down on her. The currents of war and peace were intertwined, and their journey had revealed not just the past but the fragility of the present. When they reached the safe house, they found it empty, the tension palpable in the air. "They'll all come for us," Klaus said, his eyes scanning the room. "But we be ready to." As they prepared for confrontation, Anna took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had unveiled truths that had long been hidden, igniting a conversation about the past that had the power to reshape the future. The currents of war were still swirling, but they had emerged as agents of change, unwilling to let the shadows of history dictate their fate. As they fortified their position, Anna felt a sense of resolve wash over her. The battle was far from over, but they were no longer just historians. They were warriors in the fight for truth, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. The currents of history had been stirred, and they would stand firm against the tide.